Welcome sa episode 5 sa Ignoratia Legis. It's the 15th of September 2020. It's the 15th of September 2020, episode 5. Now, sorry kayo kagapon makaigsunan kay ang akong audio ni palyar because I didn't realize nga ako siyang na-mute and then I was not able to unmute it again when I changed the CS. So that's a problem. Technician, kita po technician. Anyway, Ignoratia Legis is it's about discussion of the law, different types of law, and natong gibase ang atong overview sa syllabus sa bar examinations. Nag-discuss na ta sa political law coverage, overview. Now, on areas around labor law and social legislation, ako tatong na-discuss kagapon pero ako na usbon karon kay na wa maklaro atong audio kagapon. Okay, ang labor law and social legislation for the bar examinations na say different topics, major topics. One is the fundamental principles. The second is recruitment and placement. The third is labor standards. The fourth is post-employment issues. And then the fifth is labor relations. The sixth is management prerogative. Number 7 is social legislation. Number 8 is jurisdiction and remedies. Number 8. And then these are the 8 major, but under them na nagdaghang mga subtopics, and that's why it's difficult to study law. Okay, study kag labor law, napagi labor law review, napagi labor review center, and then the bar examinations. I skipped all of that. Ako na dito ko bar. Salit mo tagko. So, the list of relevant laws and issuances for the bar examinations. Now, naay mga law madili sakop sa bar pero importante para sa actual practice, diba? So, number 1 is the 1987 Constitution. Number 2 is the laws and rules of procedure. Okay. Number 3 are issuances by the DOLE or the executive department also. Of course, the 1987 Constitution contains a lot of provisions regarding to law and labor law and social legislation. Now, the laws and rules of procedure covered by the bar examinations. Again, ako emphasize naida kang balaod nga dili covered sa bar. We call it the non-bar subject. But very important in actual practice to protect the rights of the laborers. Okay? So don't be confused between a bar subject and a non-bar subject. So this one here is a bar subject. Presidential rules and procedures. Presidential Decree 442. Ang PD 442 actually, PD 442 is the Labor Code of the Philippines, panahon pa ni Marcos. And then Republic Act 386, which is the Civil Code of the Philippines, particularly Articles 1,700 to 1,703. Tulor man nag-articles. Migrant Workers and Overseas Filipinos Act of 1995, Republic Act number 8042, as amended by Republic Act 10022. Na-question di amen, patay. So di ka magkakagda kong score sa laboran. Republic Act 9208 as amended by Republic Act 10364, the Anti-Trafficking in Persons Act of 2003. And then you have Republic Act number 11227, Handbook for OFWs Act of 2018. And then you have PD number 626, amending certain articles of the Labor Code. PD number 851, 13th month pay law. The PD number 851, 13th month pay law. Republic Act number 11165, the Telecommuting Act. So, ang stay at home nanay balaod. Wala, dugay na. Then the Republic Act 11210, the 105-day extended maternity leave law. The Republic Act number 8187, the Paternity Leave Act of 1990. Pilipinas, pertinda ka ng mga leave. Shock ko ng mga foreign investors, mga redire. The Republic Act 8972, as amended by RA 210, is the Solo Parents Welfare Act. And then Republic Act number 9710, the Magna Carta of Women. Magna Carta of Women. Republic Act number 6725, amending Article 135 of the Labor Code, prohibition on discrimination against women. And then you have Republic Act 9262, Anti-Violence Against Women and Their Children Act of 2004. Republic Act 11313, Safe Spaces Act. Republic Act number 760, Special Protection of Children Against Abuse, Exploitation and Discrimination Act. And then you have the Republic Act 10361, the Batas Kasambahay Act. The Republic Act 7877, Anti-Sexual Harassment Act of 1995. And Republic Act 7699, the Portability Law, portability between SSS and GSIS. Republic Act 6715, the New Labor Relations Law. Republic Act number 6727, Wage Rationalization Act. Republic Act 6971, Productivity Incentives Act of 1990. Republic Act 8282, the SSS Law. Republic Act 8291, the GSIS Law. Republic Act 11199, the Social Security Act of 2018. Republic Act 10801, the Overseas Welfare Administration Act. The Republic Act 11223, Universal Healthcare Act. And then, of course, the Rules of Court, Rule 45 and Rule 65. The Rules of Court, it talks about certiorari, appeal from Doliman NLRC to the Supreme Court, to the Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court. Now, issuances sa government, Executive Order number 126, the Reorganization Act of the Ministry of Labor and Employment, dugay na. Dole Advisory number 2, series of 2009, guidelines on the adoption of flexible work arrangements. Na Pilipinas palaod lang, implementation may wa. Dole number order number 150, series of 2016, is the revised guidelines governing the employment and working conditions of security guards and other private security personnel in the private security industry. POAA Memorandum Circular number 010-10, amended the standard terms and conditions governing the overseas employment of Filipino seafarers on board ocean-going ships. And then the revised National Conciliation Mediation Board Manual Procedures for Conciliation and Preventive Mediation Cases 2017 edition. By the way, ako na-emphasize in other subjects, the implementing rules are not important. The other subjects implementing rules are important, and the guidelines are not important. But in labor law and social legislation, dakong part ang mga dole guidelines o mga issuances. Okay, so mara siya nila, especially the implementing rules, no? Labor code. So muna ang mga major topics. But of course, kung imo na siyang himay-himayon by topic, like let's say, ang fundamental principles, no? Fundamental principles. That's topic number 1, major topic number 1. Under fundamental principles, you have section A and section B. A is the legal basis and B is the state policy towards labor. So, under fundamental principles, under A, legal basis, you have 3 topics there. 1 is the 1987 Constitution, 2 is the Civil Code of the Philippines, and 3 is the Labor Code, PD 442 as amended. Okay, now next, under fundamental principles, B, state policy towards labor. We have 6 items, 6 major topics under this one, state policy towards labor. Number 1, security of tenure, which is violated every time. We have a 555, security of tenure. Number 2, social justice. Number 3, equal work opportunities. Number 4, the right to self-organization and collective bargaining. Number 5, construction in favor of labor. Construction sa na interpretation. Dili na construction. Number 6, burden of proof and quantum of evidence. Ano siya under fundamental principles. The right to self-organization and collective bargaining. Dagan nag-mark questions on that one. Second major topic is about recruitment and placement. So may part na recruitment and placement. A is definition of recruitment and placement. B is regulation of recruitment and placement activities. Ano siya? So, regulation of recruitment and placement activities. Under this, we have 5 topics. The number 1 is the regulatory authorities, the POA administration, and the regulatory and the visitorial powers of the Department of Labor and Employment Secretary or DOLE Secretary. Number 3 is the ban on direct hiring. Number 3 is entities prohibited from recruiting. And number 4, suspension or cancellation of license or authority. And number 5, prohibited practices. This is all about the regulation of recruitment and placement. That's B. Letter C, under the major topic of recruitment and placement, are illegal recruitments. What are the elements of illegal recruitments? What are the types of illegal recruitments? And how do you distinguish illegal recruitment from staffa? D, liability of local government recruitment agency and foreign employer. 1, social solidarity liability. 2, theory of imputed knowledge. Termination of contract of migrant worker. And E, employment of non-resident aliens. So kanang mga pogo, non-resident aliens man sila, pwede man sila. By the way, ang termination of contract of the migrant worker, na it became a case actually, and it came out in the bar several times. Bar examination several times. In fact, during my bar, it came out, and that's why I was able to answer it. Pre-termination contract against, there was a case involving the pre-termination. Now, the third major topic is on labor standards, and under that, we'll discuss the conditions of employment, hours of work, principles in determining hours work and employees exempted or not covered, compensable time, normal hours of work, night shift differential, overtime work, and the compressed work week, and the built-in overtime. Na may mga security guard, for example, their overtime is included already in the compensation, built-in overtime. The non-compensable hours. There are hours that are non-compensable, like lunch break. No work, no pay ka. But there are times when it is compensable. So when is meal break compensable? Meal break, power interruptions or burnouts, are they compensable? Idle time, anong standby lang. Travel time, commuting time, waiting time, is that compensable? Bayaran ba ka sa naghuwat ka nga ang sit up ang makina? Naguba ang makina, bayaran ba ka na? Number 2, rest periods. And number 3, service charge, especially service charge sa mga service industries, sama sa restaurants. Then wages, these are all under the concept of labor standards. Labor standards means what are the standards to be met, like number of hours work and salary, the minimum salary. These are labor standards. Wages, definition, components, and exclusion. What's the difference between wages and salary? What's the difference between facilities and supplements? What is the bonus? What is a 13th month pay? What is a holiday pay? And what are the principles involving wages? What's the no work, no pay principle? Equal pay for equal work principle? Fair wage for fair work principle? Then diminution of benefits principle. And non-diminution. Di pwede. Kasi mo tayo kape, tangong kape, di pwede. Non-diminution benefits. Minimum wage, payment by the hours worked or payments by results. Naman sa mga factory, for example, mga handicraft na they're paid by result. Pila ka basket, yung buhat. So, unsang pag-determine sa minimum wage na. Number 4, payment wages. Number 5, payment wages. Pwede ba bayaran ka by GCash? Pwede ka bayaran ka sardinas? If your employer owns a sardines factory, pwede ba imong sweldo nga gismil, bayaran gismil worth ng sardinas? And then prohibitions regarding wages, like pwede man na madidakan imong wage sa 5-6, katunta ka 5-6. Wage distortion. Sabot ang wage distortion, mas matafo pa ang sweldo ang ubos sa supervisor. Leaves, again, ang leaves magkaisunan, not absence. Leaves means permission. Labor code, the service incentive leave. Special laws, we have the Paternal Leave for Solo Parents Act. You have the expanded maternity leave, you have the paternity leave, you have the gynecological leave, you have the battered woman leave, kadagan ba ng leave. Sexual harassment in the work environment, definition, duties and responsibilities of employers. Applicable laws, Sexual Harassment Act, Safe Spaces Act. Working conditions for special groups of employees, apprentices and learners, disabled workers, equal opportunity, discrimination on employment for disabled workers, incentives for employers for disabled workers. And then topic, also working conditions for special groups, gender, discrimination, stipulation against marriage, prohibited acts, facilities for women, women working in nightclubs, etc. Number 4, minors. Number 5, kasampa, minors as workers. No? Like say, kanang mga teleserye, mga minors. Gisweldohan na sila. So they're employed. Allowed na. Kasambahays, mga helpers. Home worker, ang mga helper, kinalaban na SSS. Home workers, solo parents, night workers, migrant workers, security guards. So, topics na. Remember, all of these are bar topics for a single topic. For bar examples, labor law, social legislation. Ito man ang lisod din ng ubang mga buang magtuon ng bar. Diba? Okay. So, employer-employee relationship. It's a employer-employee relationship. Schedule. Apa? Okay, post-employment. Remember, once ma-employ na ka, once may tabo, yung gitawag ni post-employment issues. No? Post-employment issues. Tests to determine existence. Okay. So, employer ER. Employee EE, money shortcut. EREE relationship. Test to determine the existence of the employer EE relationship. Bar question ha. Kanang how to determine employer-employee relationship na or independent contractor ba? It's a bar question. Katong mga EBSBN, for example, katong mga project employees, katong na-reclaim bitaw, what's sila regular. So, wala siya. Paano siya? Importante ng EREA relationship. For example, angkas ka, driver, Uber driver. Are you an employee of Uber? Driver ka sa angkas or independent contractor ka? Are you an independent supplier of services? May importante na kaysa California. Gingon biyan nila nga employee ang Uber drivers. So, test to determine existence. Legitimate subcontractor as distinguished from labor-only contracting elements, trilateral relationship, and liabilities. The kinds of employment. Unsa na regular employment, casual employment, contractual, project employment, seasonal, fixed term, on provisional employment. Of course, kanang mga issues ba sa private school teachers nga di mabayaran during summer vacations, di ba? Termination by employer. Requisites for validity, substantive due process, and procedural due process. Termination by employer. Kaya pwede masad ang employee may terminate. Termination by employer. Asa naman ka? Where are you? Move na po. Okay. Termination by employer. So, wala siya. The substantive due process and the procedural due process. There are actually two groups of causes. The just causes and the authorized causes. Just cause. Discussion lang na. Pero, sakit ka, for example, authorized cause, for example, nakigibuhat sa company, authorized na. Preventive suspension, illegal dismissal, kinds of illegal dismissal. One where there is no just authorized cause, and constructive dismissal. Constructive dismissal, wa ka gi-dismiss pag wa ka tayong trabaho. Mawaw ka, so constructive dismissal na. Burden of proof, liability of officers, relief from illegal dismissal. Money claims arising from employer-employee relationship. And when not deemed dismissed, employee on floating status. Employee ka on floating status. Dismiss ka o dili. Okay. Distinguished voluntary okay, termination by employee. Ang employee mo, din ako. Ingon empleyado, din ako. Notice to the employer, with notice, without notice, and distinguished voluntary resignation and constructive dismissal. Retirement. Labor relations. The right to labor relations. 1. Who may or may not exercise the rights. A doctrine of necessary implication. 2. Commingling or mixture of membership, rights and conditions of membership, a nature of relationship, member labor union, and the labor union federation, disaffiliation, and the substitutionary doctrine of the labor. And then labor relations, bargaining units, the bargaining representative, determination of the representative status, lima ka union mag-ilog sa usa company within the company. Check off assessment agency fees, angay ba mo mabayad ba ka sa labor union sa monthly dues. Collective bargaining, duty to bargain collectively, collective bargaining agreements, mandatory provisions in a collective bargaining agreement. Unfair labor practices, nature aspects by employers, by labor organizations. Peaceful concerted activities by labor organization. Strike, what are valid strikes and what are illegal strikes. Unsa nang picket, unsa nang lockout. So concerted activities by the labor organization could be strike or picket, and by employer, the employer can lock out employees. Di mo na kupsudlon. And then the assumption of jurisdiction by Secretary of Labor and Employment in industry indispensable to national interest, and effects of assumption of jurisdiction sa national interest. Astang melt national interest na. Tanan man national interest na. 6 major group management prerogative, and we have topics under that: discipline, transfer of employees, productivity standards, bonus, change of working hours, bona fide, occupational qualifications, post-employment restrictions, marriage between employees of competitor employers. Marriage between employees of competitors. For example, ang ABS-CBN o GMA. Pwede ba mag-menu ang usa ka manager sa ABS sa manager sa GMA? Marriage between employers of competitor employers. Actually, di ko na pwede para na for that's bad decision. Social legislation, the social legislation, social security system. Social security system law, coverage and exclusions, dependents and beneficiaries and benefits. And then the GSIS law, and limited portability law, the disability and death benefits, solo welfare, agrarian relations. Agrarian relations, a concept of agrarian relation, concept of agrarian reform, existence and concept of agricultural tenancy, rights of agricultural tenants, and concept of farm worker. Sa agricultural tenant ka or farm worker ka. Universal healthcare, policy, coverage, and the national health insurance programs. Now, of course, the last of that will be jurisdiction and remedies. So, manani where the law really matters here. Labor arbiter, jurisdiction sa labor arbiter, distinguished from the distinguished from the jurisdiction of the regional director. The regional director can, on certain cases, work on mga mong tamaan kay exception man eh. General role, labor arbiter. Exception, regional director can decide on certain cases. Kana, mugawas yes bar. Ayaw tong jurisdiction sa labor arbiter kay everybody has memorized that. Ang jurisdiction sa regional director, bang, unsang cases nga allowable na ngadto na memorize on. Ano ka magkakag 92% niya? Requirements to perfect appeal to national labor relations. Reinstatement or execution pending appeal. National Labor Relations Commission, Court of Appeals, Supreme Court, the Bureau of Labor Relations, diba? National Conciliation Mediation Board, jurisdiction, conciliation as distinguished from mediation, preventive mediation, the DOLA regional directors, ilang jurisdiction and recovery and adjudicatory power of ang jurisdiction sa Secretary of the DOLE, visitorial enforcement powers, the power to suspend the effects of termination and remedies. Voluntary arbitrator, jurisdiction and remedies. And prescription of actions. Prescription means expire ang imong action. Di na ka pwede. Money claims, illegal dismissal, unfair labor practice, offenses under the labor code, and legal recruitment. Imo ginang timan-ana mo gawas ginas bar na prescription of actions. Right, so muna makaigsunan ang atong kuan karon. Episode 5 sa Ignoratia, Legis. At na discuss magkaigsunan ang topics under labor law and social legislation. Overview. Paminawan rin niyo kusap ni sa atong recording. Muna overview na to. Nagkita mo idea, oy, mga cases under. So, thank you and good afternoon. See you tomorrow.